So today I want us to think about round or flat characters. So when you're reading a story, there's some characters that play a really big role in the story. Usually our protagonist is one of those. They help move the plot along, and those are round characters. So go ahead and think about some characters in number stars that might be round. They're major, they play main roles, they encounter conflict or issues, they change and learn things throughout the story, and they're described in lots of detail. And then there are some characters that are flat. Those are minor characters who don't play a big role, who don't really change throughout the story, because we know in every good story, characters are going to grow and change. And when we look at how characters grow and change, that's also going to help us understand the theme of our story. So it's really important to pay attention to a character and think, what role is this character playing in the story? So in Number the Stars, if we think about Mrs. Hirsch shows up in, I think, I have it right here, chapter 3. The chapter title is Where is Mrs. Hirsch? There's a whole chapter named after her. But they just mention Mrs. Hirsch and that she's disappeared, and then they never bring her up again. So what do you think? Is she round or flat? Mrs. Hirsch is going to be a flat character. And the reason that Mrs. Hirsch is a flat character is she only shows up in one scene and doesn't play a big part in the plot. Remember, the plot is the events of the story. And I always, always, always want to put a page number. And so that is on pages 20 to 21. All right, now let's think of another character. Yesterday we talked about Peter. So I'm going to scroll down and look at Peter. Now, Peter is pretty interesting because he does play a pretty big role in the story. Obviously, he's not as important to the text as Ellen or Anne Marie, but he does play a big part in the plot of the story. And I also see in chapter 2, it says, red-headed Peter, her sister's fiance, had not married anyone in the years since Lisa's death. He had changed a great deal. Once he had been like a fun-loving older brother to Anne Marie and Kirsty, teasing and tickling, always a source of foolishness. Now he still stopped by the apartment, and his greetings to the girls were warm and smiling, but he was usually in a hurry, talking quickly to Mama and Papa about things Anne Marie didn't understand. He no longer sang the nonsense songs that had once made Anne Marie and Kirsty shriek with laughter. So Peter is in the beginning of our story, and we see that Peter has changed throughout the story. He used to be silly and fun-loving, and now he's really serious. And as we keep reading, we learn why Peter is so serious. And we learned yesterday when we were looking at chapter 2 we inferred yesterday that Peter is very brave and compassionate because he is providing for the Jewish families. So Peter is definitely going to be a round character. And the reason he's a round character, he changes from the beginning. Well, we'll be specific. We'll say he's saying changes from being silly to being serious and brave, and that was on page 86. Also, he's also important to the plot. How do I want to say that? He also makes choices. Impact means change or have an effect on the plot. Okay, so now you're going to continue to think about these characters and if they're round or flat, and then you're going to pick one of the round characters that you identified. Think about the conflicts that they faced, okay, the issues that they dealt with. Remember, conflict is just a problem in the story. And then how are they changed? So you're going to think about how these characters are changing. All right, good luck. Let me know if you have any questions.